Hey Adrian, I got a unique abdominal based exercise. Really it's meant to stabilize your pelvis or change the way that most people's pelvis functions from an anterior tip. If you sit a lot in your day, or you just tend to have tight hip flexors, lower back stress, anything that has to do with tension in the front and pain, aches, tiredness, anything going on in the back, there can be a play of balance or strength in the hip muscles. And so where this especially comes into play is when you go to do hip hinge type movements, such as a deadlift, a good morning, traditional deadlift or conventional or sumo or any of the power lifts or CrossFit, anything that basically involves hip hinge. So people that sit a lot sit one of two ways. They either tuck their pelvis and they're slouchy at their keyboard. Okay? The problem with people that sit like that all the time probably go from that to their car where they sit the same, to their kitchen table where they sit the same, to their couch where they sit the same, and then they probably sleep fetal too. So you're basically stuck in this position your whole life and you end up as a hunchback. So people that sit a lot, this will work well for you. People that have any kind of lower back pain, this is also going to work well for you. So I tend to do it with a lot of people. I tend to do it with myself when I feel like I've got excessive lordosis going on because of my anterior pelvic tilt. So let's just explain a little bit of anatomy first. If my pelvis was a bucket of water and it was flat, okay, anterior pelvic tilt or forward pelvic tilt is when that bucket is turned this way and water sloshes out the front. So what it can lead to is me feeling like I have a poochy belly even though there might not be a lot of fat there. It's simply because I've turned my pelvis this way. So I'm going to put a lot of tension and compression in my lumbar, and I'm going to have this core or abdominal section that's very loose. So what I need to do is level up the pelvis. Now, people that have a pelvis already that's slightly tucked, this is also a problem because you lose the ability to stick your butt out. In fitness, if you sit a lot and you tend to have a tucked pelvis or a posterior tilted where water would fall out the back of the bucket, if that's what's happening, you need to do a lot of hip hinging, a lot of hamstring type stretches, not reaching for your toe because that's just going to overstress your back, but just stretching the hamstrings. Okay? So whether that is a broomstick down the legs with the chest up, whether that's a good morning, it doesn't matter what that is, you need to do a lot of it. Now that you understand that a flat or level pelvis, not anterior tilted, not posterior tilted, just nice and level. I'm going to show you a couple things that you need to do to get it to work. Basically, you're going to need a couple toys. First and foremost, I would suggest you get, this is almost a little bit too big, I would get a 5 to 7 inch inflatable ball. Okay? Go to any toy store, go to any toy department in a Walmart or anything else. Buy a really cheap inflatable ball. What I want you to do is get it so it's pretty pumped up. This is kind of on the flat side just because it's a little bit too big. I need to get a smaller one that's a little bit harder. So what I'm going to do is basically a pelvis supported. My pelvis is going to be on top. And I'm going to go supine, so face up, and I'm just going to do a knee tuck in and out. So let me show that to you first and then I'll break it down. I'm going to lay on the ground. This is going to be put underneath basically where my tailbone is or the top of my glutes are. And I'm first going to go into a knee tuck position. The first thing you should notice about this is the lower back feels good. All that pressure is being pushed down. Gravity is being pushed down into, especially all the fascia tissue of the lower back region, it's being pushed down and around the back. So you may want to move around or shuffle around. But here's the exercise. I'm going to do a leg extension and back in. Okay? I can use the hands for balance. Here's what goes wrong. If I don't have the strength to get my legs to go straight, my hip flexor to mostly go straight, and my abdominals to take that, my pelvis is going to arch. My pelvis arches, I'm already doing that too much. So here's the problem. Most people are going to feel that too much in their hip flexors because your hip flexors already take over for the lower abdominal region who doesn't fire properly to begin with. So you may have to go back and find my video on TFL and hip flexor self-massage legs. Okay, I have a video on that. I take a baseball or a medicine ball and you're basically going to put it into the dress pant pocket area, which is your tensor fasciae latae, or I might have to go into the hip flexors or my feet are wide. I'm not going to explain that here because I already have a video for it. But if you go to test the abdominal movement I'm going to show you and what you feel is your hip flexors and it doesn't work for you, you might want to roll that out first. Now, you can use rumble roller, the less aggressive rumble. You can use a grid roller. You can use a long roller, okay? Or you can use a ball. It doesn't matter. Most people prefer the ball. I actually prefer to use the rumble roller simply because I understand and I know the benefit of that myofascial release in and around just above the tailbone, the SI joint area, the lumbar, all of that. It's good to get a better release, but some people find that a little too uncomfortable, which is understandable. So I'm also going to show this on 3 people, okay? 3 very different bodies and 3 different strength levels. So the first person I'm going to show this on is Elijah. So I'm going to get Elijah to come here. Now, we'll first show this with the grid. And again, the roller itself doesn't matter, okay? This isn't really about which roller is better. She's gonna lay face up. Okay. Now, the better thing to do is bridge as high as she possibly can. That's gonna go underneath. Now, you don't want it in the lower back. You don't want it on the hamstrings. Somewhere between this region is gonna be her best. I would say just below the pant waist, and she's gonna go down, is probably the best place and the safest place to start. Now, what you're going to notice right off the bat is the pubic bone, low ab, hip flexor region right now is pretty flat, okay? And that's the most important thing, is that when she gets her legs to stick way out there, that her hip flexor doesn't stick out, that this is staying flat. So what I'm going to get her to do is I'm going to get her to lift her legs. I'm going to take all the weight of her legs. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the weight down, and you'll see that when I go too far, see how this is increasing in curvature? I need her to stop that from happening. She's going to try to keep her tummy flat. I'm going to lower the legs, so she's trying to stretch her hip flexor while keeping this area, again, flat as hell. Now, I'm holding all the weight of her legs, and she's able to go perfectly flat in the quad. She could probably even flex the quad. Everything's flat. Now, I'm going to let go, and you're going to hope to hell you can hold on. Now, if she flexes that, there's a lot of shaking. So her abs are very strong, which is why I wanted her to demonstrate this. So I'm going to find her ideal, let go of it, okay, where she can get the tummy flat, okay, especially in this piece of the hip flexor. She's going to tuck the knees to the, tuck the knees to the chest. This is why I prefer personally not to do it on this kind of roller. Can she kick back very slowly while bracing and squeezing her abdominals? Can she kick her leg all the way straight until she feels the knee flex, but this is flat, okay? So I'm just going to hold that there. She did it perfectly. This hip flexor is being stretched out. It's not terribly engaged. Bring it back in. Try 5 or 6, trying to keep her tummy as flat as possible so the curvature doesn't change too much here. She gets a knee flex, which I know that the hip is extended out as far as it can go, pulls the knee back in, back out. What do you mostly feel?
Abs.
Abs, right?
Yeah.
You sure?
Yes.
I don't think so.
Really? I think so.
All right. Kick out a few more times. So she's struggling. Keep it tighter and tighter and tighter as she gets out to that end range, pulls back in fairly quickly. Don't hang out there too long. This actually isn't an ab exercise. I'm not doing it to build you a six-pack. Pull the knees in, a couple more of them. She's got to watch this curve doesn't pick up, that this stays tight. Pull it back in. Okay, feet down on the ground. Pull the glider out, or the roller out. Ball, remember, 5 to 7 inches, pump it up pretty firm, put that underneath the same spot. Try the same movement. First things first, go watch what happens. It's a lot harder for her. So she's going to put her feet down. When you use a ball, you got to go a little bit down lower in the body where that ball is supporting the pelvis. The higher she goes up in the body, you'd better have some serious ab strength. If you don't, you move the ball down and down and down. She's going to go knee tuck, because again, this can't increase as she kicks out. Abs tight, tight, tight. Knees are straight. She pulls back in. So what's happening? She's going to go 4 or 5 more. What's happening is every time she goes out, the back is being massaged around that ball, so it kind of loosens any stiffness you have. The next thing that's happened, as she kicks out, if she's true to form, these hip flexors, she's trying to get them to go fully straight, but her abs are what's taking over. This is not easy. Okay, she's gonna put feet down. Don't try to get off of it gracefully. Take the ball out. And then we're gonna switch. I'm gonna have Tara show off her version. Okay, so the first thing, I knew when Tara tried this that she was gonna feel a lot of hip flexor, which she did when I got her to test it. Okay, so she's gonna land it down. So you need to go check the hip flexor self-myofascial release video if that's what's working. So her hip flexor tends to be extremely strong and tight. She does a lot of squatting, a lot of stuff like that that makes it tighter and tighter. She can sit quite a bit in her day too. So that needs to be massaged out first for her. I know that. You need to check that. Do you prefer the roller or the ball first? She's gonna try the roller. Actually, you know what? For the sake of argument, try a different roller. It doesn't matter what roller. Okay. She again is gonna try to find, give me the feet. Now what I'm looking for, this flat tummy. Can she straighten out her legs any further? Let me take the weight. Can she straighten out her legs more and more and more and more, but not change the arch or the flatness of the tummy so it starts going there? That's as far out as she should be able to get it to go at all. Now if I let go, can you hold that? She can. It's about the end range of her strength. So she's gonna knee tuck, knees to chest. She can hold onto the roller if she wants to. It's the benefit of a long one. Can she kick back to where she was, keeping this tummy flat and getting the quads to lock so I know her hip flexor's gone straight. Pulls back in. Tighter in the tummy right from the get-go. Brace it, brace it, brace it, brace it. Pulls back in, go down. It's almost a little bit too much. I don't want you dying by the third rep. 10 to 15, this one's gotta go down just a little bit. Tuck back. Okay, go again. Tight, tight, and straight. Perfect. Okay, I want to see that this arch in her back, no matter where it started, it doesn't increase. This has stayed flat the whole time. My cue personally, what I go for is, did I actually feel the bottom of my quad fully flexed like a leg extension? Okay, she controls that pretty good. Put the feet down, slide that out. Let's use the ball. Again, the ball obviously way more unstable than a roller would be. So she's got to find the place where she thinks she can get all the way out to where she just was. Abs tight. Legs go straight. Keep that tummy flat. Perfect. Tight. Good. I need her knees to go at least past her belly button. They don't have to go to the chest, but they have to get in further than your belly button. Now, do you feel the low portion of the abs when you kick out? Or do you feel high?
I feel high.
Feet go down. If she's feeling high portion of the abs, then her hip flexors are probably working with the upper portion of her abs. I don't really have the belly button region firing properly. She's going to move that ball even further down her body. Then up. Okay, now she's going to kick out. Can she keep this region of her belly tight while she stretches? You feel it now? Or more? Okay, that's better. Okay, curl it. Can you curl your back a little bit flatter? Okay, put it in the back. Can you keep your back relatively flat to the ground as you kick out? I can see rectus abdominis right attached to the pubic bone, firing like crazy. That's what I'm going for. You have to be very careful and strict with yourself. This is a physio-ish type movement. This isn't an abdo. Okay, let's throw it down. Try standing up. Tell me what you feel the second that you stand up. What's the first thing you notice when you stand up? Okay, the only thing I notice about her posture is she goes wobbly. She basically falls and feels loose. What I know about her, as soon as she stood up, she tends to have excessive curvature in her back. Her tailbone will stick out too much. This looks flatter to me, and this looks flatter to me. Okay, but this is a big struggle as far as a movement for Tara. Okay, for myself, again, personally, I prefer the rumble roller for this simply because these little nubs here are going to massage my back or dig into my back a little bit better. It's also easier than the ball. So again, you lay on your back. hip bridge, put it where you think you can handle it, as far as me being able to get my abs and keep them straight. So I can go perfectly straight here. My legs are extended as far as I can handle. For me, that's too easy. I'm actually going to go up the back. I'm going to go towards my head and see if I can handle going that far out. Okay? So I'm going to knee tuck. If you've gone out far enough to feel your glutes flex, you can't flex your glutes and your hip flexors really at the same time. So if I can kick my legs straight enough that my glutes are flexing, then my hip flexors are shut off and my abs are taking all of this, stopping me from doing that. So again, tuck into a ball, kick as low as I can. Don't kick up and go down. You kick straight out. Okay, if I need my hands, I can bring them in. If I want to hold the roller because I think it's rolling around too much, I can do that as well. It shouldn't be fast or slow, okay? I'm looking for the massage effect or the release effect of my lower back, lumbar, SI joint region, okay? At the same time that I'm looking for a little activation in the abs while I'm extending my hip flexors. So what I know is when I get out of this is kind of numb, doesn't hurt, doesn't feel tense anymore. This, loosely, lightly activated, which gives me a better pelvic balance. Play around with it. It takes a long time to kind of get the right motion. Be super strict with yourself. Any questions, post them in the comments and I'll get back to you. Thank you.